Hi everyone, and welcome to another NGWA Industry Connected video. Today I'm with Jason House, LG, PG, Practice Leader of Applied Hydrogeology and Senior Principal at Woodard Curran Incorporated in Portland, Maine. Jason is the incoming president of NGWA for 2023 and only the second member from the Scientists and Engineers section to be president following Scott King, who served as president in 2019. Welcome, Jason. Thanks for your time today.
Thanks, Mike. It's good to be here, and thank you for running the interview. I'm looking forward to my year as president of the NGWA.
Yeah, so are we. Let's begin by letting the viewers know a little bit more about you. Why did you choose this industry? When did you do so? And what's your role at Woodard Curran?
Well, I started probably in the groundwater industry. Well, I knew I wanted to be involved in it back in college in the 90s. I originally got into college and thought I wanted to be an environmental attorney. So I knew I was going to do environmental something. But then I took one geology class and I really fell in love with it and the study of geology. And then as I took more classes, I took environmental geology and hydrogeology, and I realized that groundwater was where I wanted to be and where I wanted to work for, a considerable part of my career. So I got hired at Woodard Curran back in 1998. I'd done a couple of years prior to that for a geophysical firm in Pennsylvania, and then came on work full time with Woodard Curran in 1998. And I've worked on several groundwater remediation projects very early in my career here, and then that spanned into some water supply development projects in the late 90s and early 2000s, and that's when I really cemented the whole thing for me and determined that that's where I wanted to be for the rest of my career. I'm currently the applied hydrogeology practice leader at Woodard Curran, as you noticed at the beginning of the interview here, and that really entails me leading a group of groundwater professionals and developing training and driving connections and consistent delivery of hydrogeology projects across the company.
Okay. We'll get to more questions about that later on. Yeah, you began serving on the NGWA Scientists and Engineers Section Board of Directors in 2012 and began volunteering on NGWA committees in 2004 with the Groundwater Modeling Interest Group Committee. What prompted you to volunteer at the national level with NGWA, and what do you most enjoy about it?
Well, I think it really stemmed from, I attended one of the expos, we now call them Groundwater Week, right? But early on in my career, early 2000s, I want to say it was 2001, 2002 timeframe, and I was really energized by the full representation that our industry had at that expo, and I really enjoyed interfacing with all the different professionals there that were there from across the country. And so I looked for a way to get involved in a more deeper level, if you will, and discovered the interest groups and got involved with Groundwater Modeling Interest Group, which was central to sort of some of the things that I was really concentrating on here at Woodard Curran at the time. And my interest in that exchange of ideas and experience working with that diverse group of professionals from NGWA really grew from that initial interest group, and I kept looking for more opportunities to get involved. And NGWA had a program at the time for leadership development, and I decided to do that at one of the expos and took an hour-and-a-half long class with the CEO at the time, and it just grew from there.
Awesome. And at Groundwater Week 2022 this December in Las Vegas, will be receiving the gavel from outgoing President Brian Snelten, PG. How does it feel to be only the second member from the Scientists and Engineers section to hold the presidency for the association?
Well, Scott King was the first NGWA president excuse me, from the scientist engineer section, and those are some big shoes to fill. And I'm not kidding either. That guy's like 6'5". So seriously though, Scott was a great president, and I can only hope to follow his example and work collaboratively with everybody and all of the diverse members of our organization to really pull it forward and keep it moving forward as we've done in the past several years. So it's really been a little bit of pressure, but it's good pressure because, we all want NGWA to succeed.
Yep. And what will be your areas of focus as president in 2023? And curious if that leadership, the leadership class you took years and years ago, how that's going to, take fold and help you in your role in 2023.
Well, I think that leadership class sort of set the stage and really primed me for wanting to do more and excel more at NGWA. But I think we've had great leadership examples that are all now members of the past presidents, and I've learned so much from all of them. And so I think really my year is going to be focusing on continuing some of the great work that we've started, and we're really making great strides toward providing our members with the tools for successfully running a business in this industry. So I'm very excited about that and our partnership with OSU and NGWA University that we've got going on, and that ability to push relevant learning content out to a wider industry as a whole. And that's going to help elevate all of us and elevate the work that we all do. And we'll see improvements in delivery and safety and profitability and resource protection. And, right now it's still difficult times. We're still recovering from the pandemic. There are still supply chain issues. So anything that we can do for our membership to maximize their impact within the industry and the impact on the profitability of their businesses really should be the focus of our year moving forward.
Mm-hmm. And how have you learned to work with all 4 NGWA membership sections while serving on the board of directors? And what have you learned through this process up to this point?
Well, we really have a great board of directors, and we have representatives, obviously, from all of our sections on that board. And I think the single greatest strength that we have is our diversity of thoughts and our experiences within the industry. And I think we've learned that we're all in it together. And when you open up your mind and you listen, you learn something that otherwise you might never have known. And they only get that type of learning in a collaborative environment like we have on the board. And I think we have that working relationship that's founded on respect and the knowledge that we can speak our minds without fear of condemnation. And that comes from really a long path of getting to mutual respect and admiration. I think the folks that are on the board are just the greatest people I've ever worked with. And we know that the decisions that we make and that we have made are the best informed that they can be, because it's based on a collective knowledge of our industry that really would be, impossible without the diversity that is represented by our different sections.
Mm-hmm. And now switching to your role at Woodard Curran, your LinkedIn profile states that your specialties are water resource vulnerability analyses, groundwater modeling, water resource exploration and development, and near-surface seismic reflection data acquisition, processing, and interpretation. Which one do you find yourself working in the most right now?
I would say that the bulk of my work really focuses on 2 of the topics you mentioned, water resource development and groundwater modeling.
Mm-hmm.
The country, in fact, the world, it has extensive stress on water resources, and that's an area that will continue to be a focus for our company and a focus for the industry, obviously. So, and the groundwater modeling work that I do supports a number of aspects of both that resource development and groundwater modeling, groundwater remediation, excuse me. So, working on groundwater resource development, groundwater source protection, groundwater remediation, and site characterization are all kind of folded into that groundwater modeling work that I do. So I think there's those 2 main areas are probably 50-50 in terms of my time spent.
Which one do you lean towards the most as far as your preference, or do you have one?
Well, the one thing I love about being a consultant is the ability to work on a diversity of projects, and so I'm not necessarily working on the same thing every day. There are new nuances to every project, and so I might have to shift focus for a little bit and dig into something new and understand it. So I wouldn't say I necessarily have a favorite, but I do like the water resource development, and I like helping our clients out with issues that they have and resolving those issues.
Hmm. And according to Oklahoma State University, as you've referenced earlier, the industry will need an additional 130,000 people in the next 10 years alone to meet nationwide demand. What are your views on the state of the groundwater industry and recruitment of the next generation of workers?
Yeah, in some respects, our industry isn't a lot different than other industries in that we have suffered from worker shortages. I think that the the main difference is the niche we're in. Groundwater is really a focused topic to understand, and so I think we see it across our sections, and we have to be forward looking in our thinking about how we get new people into the industry. And I think we're making really good strides toward that through the Groundwater Foundation and strengthening the education process about groundwater. And the earlier we can push that education down into an experience that's meaningful for students, the better off we're going to be in the long game. We really have to play the long game here. We have to foster an interest in an early age that will help to get more people coming out of our high schools and colleges and universities that are interested in pursuing a career in groundwater. And so I mentioned before, we're building tools to help foster that new worker education and to get folks who are interested in a career change the training they need to become quickly integrated and impactful in our industry. So I think we're doing a lot to try to generate that interest and to get the numbers back up, but we have to play the long game here.
Mhm. And you served in the Army National Guard from 1990 to 1996. What was that experience like, and how has it helped shape who you are today?
Yeah, I think my service really in the military was foundational to my life outlook now. I think the Army, well, whatever branch you're in, I was in the Army National Guard. It pulls people from all walks of life. It trains them and then expects them to accomplish a mission that they've been given. So I think you quickly learn to depend on people you might never have crossed path with, otherwise,
Hmm.
and you learn that you can depend on them. And so it taught me is that when people are united by a common adversity or a common goal, that they're all pulling on the same piece of the rope in the same direction. When all that happens and all that clicks, great things can happen. And I have a tremendous respect for our veterans and people who have served our country. And I think that people can learn from that service that you can depend on others and you need to depend on others in order to get the mission accomplished.
Mm-hmm. And lastly, a fun fact about you is that you play the bagpipes. Can you tell us how this came about and what is it that you love about playing bagpipes?
Well, my wife and I took a trip to Scotland back in, I would say, late 90s, early 2000s. And it was early on in our marriage before we had kids. And it was a really great experience. We toured across the country. We got a chance to look and watch and see pipers at various Highland games and then at Edinburgh Castle. And so
Mm.
when we got back, I just decided that I was going to learn to play. It's part of our heritage. I have Scottish in my heritage. My wife has Irish in her heritage. So it spoke to me, and I said, I bought myself a practice chanter and an instructional booklet, and I started to teach myself to play. And about a year or so later, I joined a Highland pipe and drum band at the Shrine Temple that I was a member of through the Corps of Shriners, and I started practicing with that band. And soon enough, I was out parading with them, and I've had to cut it back a little bit because of all the activities my teenagers are involved with. But I'll get back to it after they've graduated from college and high school and college, and it'll be another big part of my life again, I think.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thanks again for your time today, Jason, and we look forward to seeing you receive the gavel at Groundwater Week 2022 this December in Las Vegas. And all the best to you as NGWA president in 2023.
Thank you very much, Mike. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to December as well.